Hello and welcome to the Tax and Bookkeeping Stories podcast, brought to you by Intuit. I'm your host, Thomas Flynn. I'm a senior recruiter at Intuit, where I'm on a journey to match exceptional talent with our amazing opportunities that we have here. This podcast is about people like you and how you can be inspired to join Intuit by hearing personal, relatable stories from our superstar tax experts and bookkeepers that have made life-altering choices to work here at Intuit, and how that set them on a path to finding growth, development, community, and happiness. Tax and Bookkeeping Stories is produced by Jessica Tarleton, and our editor is Lawrence Stansberry. Be sure to subscribe to Tax and Bookkeeping Stories on SoundCloud so you can hear more amazing journeys from our experts. All right. Hello, Natasha, and welcome to our episode. Everybody here, Supermom Natasha, how a TurboTax Live manager found inspiration to chase her dreams. It's great to connect with you here today. How are you doing?
I am doing pretty good. I'm pretty excited to be here. I'm always happy to share my story and inspire others. How are you doing today?
I'm excited to hear about you and your journey here. To start off, I'm hoping you can give us a quick introduction on where you're calling in from today and what you do with us here at Intuit.
Of course, I'll be happy to. So, I'm calling in from Atlanta, but I am originally from Tennessee. I'm going to always say that. But people say that once you've been in Atlanta for over 20 years or more, you're now from Atlanta. So, I guess I'm now an Atlanta native. As far as what I do here at Intuit, I like to say that I am a people manager. I manage our tax experts that deliver awesome services to our customers on the TurboTax Live side. I've been doing this since 2020 and I've been with Intuit since 2018. For my specific role, I'm a manager one, and so I work year round as opposed to having that seasonal break. Overall, my job keeps me busy because when the call volume goes down, we get to work on projects, and those projects, they bring out hidden talents or, just buried talents that I didn't realize I had. So I'm constantly learning throughout the year here, which I enjoy doing.
That's great. I mean, it sounds like ATL has been a good move, and I love the intro on what you're building with our team here. Hopefully, we can unbury some of those talents. You can speak to those. I know that you have a 12-year-old daughter, and as I understand, she's one of your biggest inspirations. Would love for you to tell me more on how wanting to be there for her inspired you to take a chance on Intuit and apply with us here at TurboTax back in 2018.
Yeah, so my 12-year-old daughter, I'm going to whisper this so she doesn't hear. She's really my best friend, but I don't tell her this. But yeah, she's definitely a big inspiration for me. Everything I do it for her. And I don't really like using this term, but it is what it is. I'm a single parent, so I'm totally responsible for my daughter. So with that, it comes the financial and the physical part of taking care of her by myself. So before Intuit, I worked for employers that, express work-life balance, but they really didn't promote it. I would be working, jobs where I would literally be working overnight, and the expectation was that I would come to work, the next day. And I felt like the daycare and the teachers, thank God for teachers, but they were really raising my daughter, and I was missing out on, important milestones. And when I envisioned, being a parent, I envisioned, being that type of parent that could be there at her school functions, help her with homework, just provide her with a lifestyle that I desired, as a young child myself, being able to travel and just have these full life experiences. So, definitely every decision I make, she's at the forefront of that. How can I be a better parent? How can I be a better, version of me? And with that, it comes where I work and how I work.
Yeah, I get a little emotional hearing, being a single mom. I had one that raised me by herself as well. So I can relate to a bit of what you're sharing here. She may not fully realize it yet, and I'll whisper too, but she is actually very lucky, of course, to have a super mom like you in her corner.
Thank you.
Um, yes. So tell us, as I'm still whispering, tell us about how that journey, how that you go from the first time you worked with us to where you're at now. How did you get to where you're at right now as a manager?
I started working for Intuit in 2018. I kept seeing these Intuit advertisements on Facebook, and initially I thought this is spam, but I was like, okay, I'm gonna go ahead and click on the Facebook ad. At the time, I was working a job where the title was good, but the pay was not that great. It was salary. So no matter how much I worked, there was never a time that I didn't work less than 40 hours and my pay, it didn't change. So I definitely didn't like that. Um, and I also wasn't growing and developing in that position. So, like I said, I just decided to go for it and click on that Intuit Facebook ad. So I applied for the TurboTax Live role and I got the position and I completed training. But I did apply a little late, into the tax season. So it was around April by the time I was starting my first job at Intuit. And, that's a bit rough to start as late as I did from a learning stance, but I had an awesome manager who encouraged me to come back and start earlier next time to get that full TurboTax Live experience.
Good.
And then I started back, again in January of 2019 as a tax expert. And I was working my full-time job, Monday through Friday, and working part-time 20 hours a week at TurboTax on Fridays, Saturdays, and Sundays. And as a live expert, I actually got more fulfillment at Intuit than I did at my full-time job. I was able to help people, and learn and just to get, and just get to be my authentic self here. And I was, having these relationships, creating these relationships with people, even while working online. So I worked that through the end of the season and I loved it. And then I came back the next fall and worked for Intuit. And after receiving encouragement from a great recruiter, I applied for a lead position and became a lead. And then I was encouraged again by coworkers to apply for the seasonal manager position. I applied for that too, and I got that position. And then shortly after, I applied for the manager one role, and I eventually got that position too.
Awesome.
So it's a lot of growth. It was a lot of growth in a short period of time, but exciting nonetheless. And the people at Intuit, they really helped to support me along the way to build me up and encourage me to keep moving in my career here.
Love that. What a story of your journey and great professional growth that you've had here. I mean, it sounds like a lot of good encouragement from both the community here into it and then of course your own personal drive on your end that helped you grow. It's awesome to hear that as a recruiter though. You did continue to grow and we got you in here and got you into these different spots. Now you're leading a team.
Yeah.
Um, so tell me, a little bit about your role currently. What does it entail? What does your day to day look like? And why do you enjoy it so much?
The speed of things here is very interesting. We get so much information and things change so quickly. So you are constantly moving and doing something. So if you like change and you like learning constantly, you would really enjoy this position. And that's one of the main reasons why I enjoy this position because I'm never bored. There's always some type of report, some type of new learning, some type of something where, we're just constantly pivoting, as we say here. So I do enjoy that a lot. Um, As far as my day to day, because I work from home, I get up in the morning, I get to take my daughter to school. And during those drives, we just talk, laugh, pray, just more time for us to bond. And then I'm usually getting back home around 8 o'clock, 8:30 EST. And then I'm just running reports, attending meetings, multitasking, responding to emails, updating schedules, answering questions. And I do that until roughly like 2:45, 2:50 p.m. EST. And then I'm going out for my afternoon school run to pick up my daughter and come back. And then I finish up the rest of my day. And, because of the flexibility here, I choose how long I want to work. So I have the option to work all the way up to midnight, if I want to. But again, that's really my choice.
So you clearly demonstrate that not all superheroes wear capes and certainly take on a lot and accomplish a ton both in your personal and professional life, it seems. Talking about some of your professional life, earlier I heard you say that a lot of people encourage you to take chances at work and really make that next jump, make that next move, so to speak. Are you able
Mhm.
to do that now for others and lead by example in your current role?
Oh, yes, most definitely, especially with my team. When I'm meeting with them and they have expressed a desire to grow, just for their own personal reason, they might be in a situation similar to mine where they're just trying to provide for their family, they want that work-life balance. So I definitely encourage people, to apply for, positions, that allow them to move up within the company. Um, like I said, I usually have these conversations with my team, when we're having a one-on-one, and I always start with a holistic conversation. Like, just getting to know them, finding out, what they do outside of here, what kind of goals they have, and, where do they see themselves in the next few years or so. And once they mention wanting to grow with TurboTax, even if they don't mention it, I put that plug out there because working here has really improved me and my daughter's life significantly. This is the closest thing to work-life balance that I've had in my 20, plus year working career. So I want to share that experience with everybody else and let them know that it's definitely attainable.
And I love that you found that work life balance you're looking for after a 20 plus year career. And I think it's saying something about it here at Intuit. Now, Intuit's values, I want people to know that we have values here, and they're big drivers for everyone on our team, including myself. There's five that are core to us. One of those, that's your favorite, you've said, is stronger together. So, can you tell me how you've seen that across positions you've held in all the people that you've come across and worked with or partnered with?
Well, like I said, just being in the position that I am, I wouldn't be here, if other people didn't encourage me. So, just a couple of weeks ago, I was having a conversation with one of my experts, and I was sharing with them that here the culture is different. Like the pie is so big, everybody can have a slice, of the pie. There's no competition, which is, healthier than a typical corporate workplace culture. Here I can shine, you can shine, we all can shine through our relationships with each other, just interacting with each other, supporting each other in our position here. Um, just an example of that. There's a high, amount of information that is pushed to us to share, and no one's here 24 hours a day, so we heavily rely on each other to kind of help each other out, keep up with those communications. If it's something that you don't, understand or really know how to do, you can, just reach out and say, hey, do you know how to do this? Can you jump into a Zoom? Can you help me with this? So, most definitely, the managers inside and outside of my pod, we just work together as one, because the the main goal here is working together to deliver awesome service to our customers, and we know we need each other to be able to do that.
Ton of collaboration that you've been able to do and partners you've been able to take and be able to lean on each other. So really love that you're able to share some of that and talking about how those values really are ingrained in the culture here at Intuit.
Mhm.
I dare ask, given everything you've shared, do you think that Intuit is one of the better places, one of the best places even that you've worked for?
It is the best company that I've ever worked for. I'm already trying to figure out like how can I do this, past retirement? Like, can I work here in my 70s? So yeah.
Indeed, that's a possibility. I mean, your passion and get dedication here in this role. I mean, they've gotten you to where you are, right? And
Mhm.
recently helped you achieve a dream, I hear. So you went on vacation to Hawaii with your daughter. Tell us more about how you were able to do that.
Yeah. So, as a little kid, I grew up watching the lifestyles of the rich and famous. I'm really telling my age right now, but I will watch that show and just get inspired, not by being wealthy, but just the places that they were able to go, and see. And, I wanted that. I've always had a desire to see different parts of the country and the world. And like I said, before working here, I would travel. I would go to local places. Um, my job, they would offer PTO, but they would give you a hard time using the leave and, with the limited, compensation. I would sometimes be in a situation where I would have to choose, okay, do I want to go on this trip or do I want to provide for my child? And, I'm going to do the right thing and, make sure my child, is provided for. So, yeah, but, I didn't like it because I felt like, it wasn't fair. I worked hard and I shouldn't have to make those, type of choices. My mindset was, if I'm working for a company and I'm given 120%, I want to be in a position where I can enjoy, the fruits of my labor. So,
Yeah.
one day, when we were in a manager meeting and the season was, winding down for the seasonal managers, we were all just talking about, what we were going to do for the summer and, where we were going. And I just kept saying, oh, I really want to go to Hawaii. I think that's what I sounded like. But,
Understandable.
I was like, I really want to go. And somebody asked me, like, what's stopping you? And I just thought, nothing, but in my mind, because for so long I had just been in this state of not being in a position to, be able to go, whether having the time to go or, having the finances to go, I didn't realize that, I was finally at a place where I could do those things. So I did my research. I booked the hotel, I booked our flights, and we went to Hawaii, and that was an amazing experience for me and my daughter. I think about it quite often. It was great.
Awesome. That is amazing. Wish I could be in Hawaii right now. However, recording podcasts and learning about our team, I mean, that clearly comes in a close second on my favorite things to do. So no complaints here, especially from Minneapolis. But let's carry on. So talking about the perfect dream and the perfect job, how do you feel about the TurboTax Live product and what we have here? Do you think the product, what do you think, sorry, of the product itself? And how do you help people use it and actually make a difference in the world today with this?
Oh, I definitely believe in the product. I use TurboTax to prepare my own personal tax return. They have several business products, and I use one of those business products as well. And like I said, it just really goes to speak about the brand. I've worked places before, and I didn't shop there, but I use TurboTax products every year. As far as, the customers and making a difference, for them, um, filing a tax return is very important to a lot of people, and
Hmm.
it can be a stressful process for them. For a lot of families, they are relying on their refund to get them through whatever circumstance or need that they have at that time. And when I'm running reports, I get to see firsthand the comments from our customers, and they say things like our experts, made the process smooth and easy. They were very kind, they were efficient, helpful. Um, it was one comment that I saw, it was a wonderful experience all around. And that's major, someone saying filing their taxes was a wonderful experience. So definitely we are making a difference in people's lives. Um, and Intuit, I believe in what we're doing here. The brand, the product, again, I use it for my own purposes. And I always try to recommend it to my family and friends. If it's a situation where I can't prepare their tax return, I'm like, just use the TurboTax Live product or use the desktop product. So I definitely stand behind the brand.
Good. That's that's important. Got to believe in what we're offering for others, right?
Hmm.
And those are some pretty, I mean, insightful stories too, because not everyone does think doing taxes is wonderful. So it's great to great to hear some of that. So that's awesome. Now, for our listeners out there, you spoke about a positive work environment, chasing your dreams, how this job helps you achieve both of those things and more, of course. What's the last piece of advice that you'd want to offer for people willing to break into this job, and why they should be an expert here with us at Intuit?
Well, with hard work and dedication, you can really grow within this company. And like I said, you don't see that in a lot of corporations, just that amount of growth there. Um, you see where people are working hard, they're just beating their head against the wall and they're stuck. But here, you can actually grow until it has some great values, not just for the company but values that you implement, in your day-to-day life. And you can grow here professionally and grow here, as a person. I know I definitely have. Um, the other thing is that, you're able to develop relationships with people from all over the country, from different backgrounds, different, ethnicities. And, I've been able to, develop, friendships with people, real friendships, even though we're working in a virtual, environment. I consider, quite a few of these people to be my real friends, in real life. So, like I said before, it might sound a little corny, but this really is the best job that I've had, ever. It's such a joy and a pleasure to be here, and I really do consider myself, blessed to have this opportunity. So, to that person that really is just looking for change, wants to have that work life balance, because, with some jobs you can get burned out and stressed out, and then, it can affect your health. So,
Hmm.
if you're looking for a place where you can grow and just have those positive work experiences, then Intuit is definitely the place to be.
Truthful words, everyone. I couldn't agree more. Thank you so much for the incredible conversation here, Natasha. It was amazing to connect with you today, and also, of course, inspiring to hear your story here.
Thank you.
Thanks again for listening to the Tax and Bookkeeping Stories podcast. Be sure to subscribe on SoundCloud so you don't miss out on any stories from our amazing tax experts or bookkeepers here. The Tax and Bookkeeping Stories podcast is brought to you by Intuit. I'm Thomas Flynn, and we'll see you next time.